All right. Well, it's just after 9 a.m. Pacific time. Welcome to our State of the Industry. We have a lot to cover. I'm excited to spend an hour with you guys. We're gonna have some lessons on what we need to be doing as we head into the month of November, December, and then January. We're gonna talk about one of the things that we can all level up in our business later in the call. And we're going to meet two of just our phenomenal network agents as well. I would say two awesome humans, perhaps better humans than even agents. Not that they're not great agents, because they wouldn't be on the call if they weren't, but they're just great human beings. And excited to get you to know two of our network friends over the course of the hour. Before we begin, Leslie, why don't you fill us in on what we should be expecting for the remainder of November and what we have coming up for the network?
Awesome. Well, as you guys know, we are going to round out our 2020 Master Series with the amazing Dick Dillingham. He is going to be speaking to us about the power of mindset, especially important this year as we close out this fascinating and historic and challenging and crazy year and prepare for a powerful 2021. So join us on Wednesday, November 18th at our usual 9 a.m. slot. Please note that this is a week earlier in the month than our usual Master Series due to the holiday the following week. So Wednesday, November 18th, 2020 from 9 to 10. I have dropped the registration link in the chat box so you can go ahead and register for this powerful event. And we are currently working on what the Master Series will look like in 2021. If there's any incredible speakers that you want to see, please give me a shout, and so we can make sure we can get them on the list for our 2021 opportunities.
We will make that happen. Leslie is a master at getting guests to say yes. So thank you for all the work that's gone into that. And guys, block this in your calendar, November 18th. Mr. Dillingham is one of my favorite speakers across our network. He was one of the first speakers that I saw when I came to KW over a decade ago, and he flew into Portland, actually. Katie Benson at that time had gotten him to come and speak, and just a masterful career he's had, and does mostly coaching now with high-level business owners. And I'm really grateful that he's willing to come to our network and spend an hour with us. Noah, I will work on that. Noah has requested Mr. Keller show up to our Master Series event, and well, you start big, right, Noah? I'll get to work on that starting now.
We'll see what we can do.
Leslie, you want to continue with our leaderboard?
Yes. All right, you guys. This is our second annual fourth quarter takeover competition for the Experience Brokerage Network. Many of you guys have been competing, and we all know our agents love a little bit of friendly competition. So just for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, every fourth quarter we run a listing competition. So that's why listings are the topic of the moment. So and we release the results every Friday on our network email that goes out. So we are very excited to announce our winners to date, so you guys know who the leaderboard is, and I'm going to give you the exact names and the unit number so you guys know what you are competing against. And then this is a great competition because, Chris, everybody wins. We all need more listings in our world. So congratulations to a rookie category. KWRP is throwing down. We have a four-way tie out of KWRP with each rookie taking one listings. So a huge congratulations to Anika Stanley, Wendy Katz, Nicole Ball, and Megan Bauman in our rookie category. Under our solo broker category, huge congratulations out of Eugene. We have a two-way tie, each of them listing 5 listings. And congratulations, Derek Roser and A.D. Smith. Team category, also a two-way tie with each listing 5 listings. So congratulations to KWRP and Berlinberg Properties and the Rob Levy team. And in our group category, Also a two-way tie out of KWSC with 7 listings apiece. Congratulations, Arc Realty and Dar and Darcy. So keep up the great work, you guys. Now you know the number count. We collect the information every Thursday, posted every Friday. So stay tuned this Friday to see if these agents maintain the lead or if somebody else has taken the lead from them.
Awesome. Well, we're going to talk about why those listings are so important in just a few minutes.
Awesome. And then remember, it's everybody has a chance to win when they are out taking listings. Not only is our industry better, not only is it better for our clients and our communities to go out there and get those listings, but every month for every single listing you take, you get entered into a raffle to win a monthly prize. Last month's monthly prize was a free family reunion ticket to 2021. Our October winner goes to Adele Lopez out of KW Capital City. So congratulations on your free ticket to the family reunion 2021 in February. So huge congratulations, you guys.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Leslie. Great work. Great listing work, as much as anything. Guys, I wanted to start before we jump in to look at some listing numbers and look at where we're at. Make sure my screen is still sharing. Is it, Leslie? Cool. Who is on your screen? Anyone know who we're looking at? Put it in the chat. We are looking at a winner. That's who we're looking at. The woman on your screen, that is the many faces of a woman named Tiana Bartoletta. And, you know, not an athlete that we talk a lot about, not an athlete that has gotten a lot of public praise, but she is a two-time Olympian. She has 3 gold medals. And I was listening to an interview with her this past week, and I thought her perspective on what winning is a really good perspective for us as we head into 2021. And here's why. As we sort of define what winning is for us, oftentimes and incorrectly, we begin to look at other people, right? We begin to look at what others are doing, what others have sort of defined as their winning, and we can get wildly distracted that way. But in the interview, Tiana said she has a perspective that has led her to winning those gold medals. And she said the difference between me and most athletes that show up there, and she's a short distance runner. She's also what she's known for is her long jump. But she said what's different about me and other runners or athletes, what I want us to think about is what's different about me than other real estate agents or business owners is she said, I show up and all I care about is winning this moment. And then I move to the next moment. She said, what other people do or are doing doesn't affect her physical ability to do what she knows she can. And on the outset, we may not really unpackage that. But what she said, what other people are doing doesn't affect her physical ability, right? Her physical ability to run or to jump, or it doesn't affect what she knows she can do. So she was telling the story of when she was performing in Rio, and where she won a gold medal, by the way. But she said where other athletes would watch the leaderboard, would listen to how others performed, would listen when a world record was broken or a personal best was reached, or perhaps a bad jump was made by another competitor. She said, I never watched the leaderboard. I never listened to the announcements. I never listened to who's doing amazing, who just failed. And she said this, because I know what I need to do, and I was there to execute based on my physical ability. In the interview, she said, I don't focus on what I need to do to win, because that's a result I don't control. And I thought that was interesting perspective, because oftentimes we say, well, we control whether we win or lose. And she said, actually, I don't. I control how I run, how I jump. I control my activity. I control my physical ability, but I can't guarantee I'm going to win or not, because someone else actually may control their physical ability better than I did that day. She said, I just focus on what I need to do for my best jump. Winning is up to what other people do. And then she described it and she said, I know I need to drive my right knee to my chest when I take off. I know I need to drive my left knee to my chest as soon as possible right after that. I know I need to lean forward on my landing. If I do all of those things, if I do what I need to do that I know I need to do, then I did my best jump. Then I'll look up and see if I won. I can't ask myself anything more, she said. And then she said something really cool. And I want us all to internalize this. She goes, I will not be dissatisfied with those results. I know what I do best. I know what I do well. I'm committing to executing on those things. So she said, the reason why people say she is so hard to beat, she said, the reason why I'm so hard to beat, even if I'm not the best jumper on paper, is she said, I am willing to do my best in the moment and not let the other noise cut through. And she began to talk about how winning comes down to our will and our ability, right? And the difference between will and ability. And she said, see, I know I have the ability. I train for that every day. I know I have the ability to go out and jump my best. The question is, am I willing to execute here in this moment? Am I willing to do that today? Am I willing to do that on this jump? Do I have the will to do what I need to do every day in this moment in this year based on the ability that I know I have? Now, she said, if I questioned my ability, if I wondered whether I was able enough, then guess what? That happens back in training. And I think that's an incredible perspective for us as we head into 2021 and we're goal setting and we're looking at where were we in 2020? What did we accomplish in 2020 and what will we need or what do we want to accomplish in 2021? Focus on where you are in the moment, focus on your will and your ability, your will and your ability. And we'll coach and we'll train to both of those. So with that said, where are we? Where are we? Let's talk about our markets real briefly today. On the screen, you'll see some statistics for Portland. Just some big overview or some sort of 10,000 feet up. Looking at data sometimes helps us understand what we're feeling. It also may understand or help us understand that we have no reason to feel the way we are feeling as well. And I'll explain that in just a minute. In Portland, as we speak, we have about 7.5% fewer listings taken this year over last year. And we may feel that, right? We may feel that. Pending sales are up by 7.2%, right? Year to date, pending sales are up. Closed sales are down. I'm sorry, closed sales are up 4.8%. But notice that differential. Pending sales are up year to date 7.2%. Closed sales are down 4.8%. Now you might say, well, yeah, because we just pended some and they're going to close. But that's year to date, guys. Those numbers in a perfect world, and nothing's perfect, in a perfect world would be much closer, wouldn't they? About 60% of the increase in our pendings this year are falling out, right? 60% of that 7.2% increase in pendings haven't shown up as a 7.2% increase in closings. We need to revisit buyer motivation and seller motivation, right? We need to revisit shift where it says find the motivated, understanding what drives motivation, asking motivational questions in order to keep those deals together. Our median sales price is up 6.1% and time on the market is down by about 15%. We feel all that. But I think looking at that pending and closed, maybe why you feel a little bit more tired in 2020. There are many reasons, but that might be one of those reasons why you feel a little bit more tired as well, or maybe frustrated as well. Looking at pendings up, closings not matching that. Let's go to Lane County. We're going to look at a few similar numbers. When we're looking at Lane County, listings are down 4.7% year over year, but we saw some relief last month with an increase of almost 8% in new listings over the previous month. Pending sales were up almost 10% last month, right, over the previous month. Closed sales, interestingly enough, were in line with that, right? That's a good sign in terms of motivation. Looking at the year, it's pretty even with pendings, right? We haven't seen a big increase this year in pending sales, about 0.2% increase year to date over where Lane County was previously last year in pending sales. But look at your closed sales, interestingly enough, right? Down. So we have some decreased buyer motivation this year, don't we? Or maybe it's decreased seller motivation this year. Since the same number of buyers went into contract as last year, but 5% roughly fewer have closed, median sales price is up 4%. It's a healthy market, guys. Days on market are down 10% as well in that market. So Jennifer, I see your question. Pendings are off from year to date, closed due to sale fails. If we continue to see that, we're not going to see that catch up in November and December for closed sales. So I've been watching that number, Jennifer, sort of month over month, month over month, month over month, and we're beginning to see this differential. Now, last year, interestingly enough, pending sales and closed sales, they never match perfectly, but our increases match pretty darn close year over year, right? So when we saw a 3% increase in pending sales, we were seeing relatively a 2.8, 2.9% increase in closed sales as well. But motivation was there. I'm looking at that just as a forward-looking view of where is buyer and seller motivation. Let's move to Salem. Well, if you're a realtor in Salem, you want us to move to Salem, but we're just going to transition our conversation to Salem. We're not technically moving. Salem market, active listings at this point this year, guys, look at that. One of the 45%, active listings down 45%. We had 3.3 months of inventory at this time last year. We have 1.8 months of inventory currently. One of the most dramatic market changes year over year in our network. We saw an increase in pendings from October 2019 to 2020, right? In that same month, an increase of 27%. So inventory dropped. Much of that active inventory got eaten up. How? We saw an increase in activity by 27%. So again, if I'm an agent there, I say, gosh, what part of that percentage did I see? Is my business up? Are my pendings up in October? Now, some of that, as we get a little bit farther south, you'll see pendings are up dramatically month over month, and that was largely based on the influence or interaction with the fire and our real estate market. You'll see that with back on markets in a minute as well in Lane County. Average sales price was up 13% last month from a year ago in Salem. Now, 13% is unsustainable. We've seen some dramatic increases in our Salem market in terms of our median sales price and our average sales price. And Southern Oregon. Right, looking at some numbers from Southern Oregon. New listings were up 9% from a month ago. That's good news there. We pended just slightly less than the previous month. So this time of year, pretty consistent with some seasonality, but that pending number was down considerably, guys, from a year ago. The motivation is still strong from our buyers. We saw back on markets and sale fails drop by almost 20% from the previous month. That means those sale fails went down, right? A month ago, we had 322 sale fails. This month in October, we had 259 sale fails. So I look at those numbers too. Are back on markets increasing or not? Now, keep in mind, September, those back on markets largely affected by financing issues or maybe even property damage. So understand, I don't expect to see November's back on markets to match that 19% drop from September to October. We also saw closings bump up by about 2.5% there in Southern Oregon. So overall, what I want us to look at is just, I was on a call with an agent just yesterday, and they said, well, gosh, I just feel like, is it slow for you? It's slow for me. Is it slow for you? And we sort of want to garner some, I don't know, slowness sympathy. Like, yeah, it's slow for me too. Don't worry about it. But the fact is our market, our pendings are not slowing, guys. right? As you go through the different markets, right? And you look at our pendings, right? In October, pending sales, October to October, or even from the previous month. Portland pendings were up from the previous month. Lane County pendings were up from the previous month. Salem pendings were up from the previous month. Southern Oregon pendings dropped just slightly, right? The only market that we're in, so that we saw pendings drop. So if it dropped for you, then the natural question to ask ourselves is, well, what did I do different, right? Why did the market increase in pendings and perhaps I did not? And maybe that was because we got bogged down in the transactions we were closing. Our network had some record months in September and some record months in October. As the profit share numbers come out in November, many of you are going to be quite pleased, right? We had some of the best profit share months for some of our offices in October that'll hit your accounts in November. So clearly we were busy closing deals. We have to be careful that we don't get so busy closing that we're not busy enough pending, and then we start losing ground in that marketplace individually, right? As an agent. All right, guys, that's just a broad overview. We do this every month, and then I'll share some thoughts or some numbers that I would look at. Again, I think that's an interesting number to look at, pendings versus closed, the increases month over month, year over year, year to date, where are we? And then get a gauge of what does that tell you about your potential buyers? How can we use that in a listing appointment? Potentially getting our sellers prepared for buyer motivation shifts as well, right? For a long time, we got something in contract. It was as good as closed. Do not give up on those deals, right? Those sellers and those buyers and those co-op agents need to be nurtured during that escrow period. Look at your systems, make sure your systems are tight. We're going to talk about systems in just a little bit as well. But before we do that, let's talk to a few of our agents. I want to introduce you to a couple agents. The first one we're going to get to meet is Sean. Sean, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Awesome. So we can hear you.
My video's locked out.
What's that?
My video's locked out, but I'm here.
Well, we need to fix that. Leslie, can you see why that might be?
I'm working.
There we go.
There we go.
Sorry about that, Sean.
Awesome. I was going to say, I mean, if you don't get to see Sean, you just don't get to experience Sean. So, Sean, we appreciate you being here. We'd be remiss if we didn't give mention to the other part of the Keen group, who is your wife. We are glad to have you out of our capital city, our Salem office, and maybe you can just kind of tell us a little bit about your team, how it operates, what does it look like, maybe introduce your wife, not in camera, but in name. Kim.
Well, the team consists of me and my wife, Kim. Also on my team is Danny. We have a buyer's agent, Danny, who handles all of our buyers, and we have a part-time admin runner, which is our daughter, Madison. She does a lot of the back end, like mailers and things like that, and she runs around, hangs lock boxes, and does all the fun stuff.
Awesome.
And that's pretty much our team.
Awesome. Now, I love today's session because we're going to get a glimpse at some very lean businesses, profitable businesses, and lean businesses. The first quarter was not your best quarter. Fair?
No, yeah, probably my worst quarter ever.
Okay, so talk to us a little bit about. I think that's fair, and I love that you're willing to come on and share that and talk through that. Talk to us a little bit about what happened in the first quarter. What were you coming off of maybe in the last quarter of 2019 that you believe may have caused that slowdown in the first quarter of 2020? What do you attribute that to?
I'm really not sure. We tried to dive into it and tried to figure it out, and just everything we seemed to try just was not working. We closed in the whole quarter. We closed 4 deals, and we average about 6 a month. And so we had 2 months with 1 and 1 month with 2, and it was rough. It was hard to try to figure out why it was happening. We didn't have anything major really at the end of the year in the fourth quarter that we could pinpoint why it was happening, but just everything we seemed to try just seemed to hit a roadblock, and just nothing seemed to work. So,
Sean, I appreciate that comment because at times as business owners, we always believe that there's a reason, right? We will look and study and search for the reason why things aren't going the way we wish them to be. And right, I go back to Tiana, right? At a certain point in time, we need to just stop looking for the reason and just focus on the now. So you said, did you say you closed 6 in the first quarter?
Well, we average 5 to 6 a month, and we closed 4 in the whole quarter.
Four in the quarter. Now, some of us would be having nervous breakdowns. Some of us would be having financial breakdowns if we live at a 6 deal a month clip, and all of a sudden we go 3 months and close 4. Now, I think it's important for people to know, since that point in time, you guys have been on fire, right? Rolling 12, you've done about 50 units, about just under 18 million in volume in your marketplace, one of the top agents in your marketplace. What changed? What happened? Like, end of first quarter, you and your wife look at each other saying, hey, what's going on? Well, I don't know what's going on. So what did you begin to focus on?
It's really weird to say, but then COVID hit, and that actually helped us. We are very much client-based, referral-based. We get a lot of referrals in, a lot of past clients. So we just really dug into our clients and started just checking on people. Like the first month in March, we ran around to almost our entire database and just dropped off flowers. We made little yard signs for each flower, and we dropped them off. And we had some free time. We weren't having any closings, so we sat around and made a bunch of those, and we delivered them to past clients, closed clients. I think we delivered 150 of them in 2 days. And out of those, we got a listing, we got a buyer. Actually, we had 2 buyers, if I remember right, and a listing just at people's doorsteps. Hey, we need to list our house. Hey, we're thinking about buying, just from those flowers. And that kind of jump-started it.
Yeah. What's interesting about that, Sean, is oftentimes if we overanalyze what's not working, we forget to focus on what always has, or what we're good at, or what we know how to do. And so a few times in the conversation earlier, you said, well, we kept on trying things and nothing we were trying was working. Oftentimes that's the problem, right? Oftentimes the problem is we begin to look at all the, Naval Ravikant says, we begin to look at whatever's hot, and we forget about what got us to where we are. You're a historically phenomenal business owner and real estate team. And so when things we start trying aren't working, before you know it, if we're not careful, we'll forget what got us there. So unpackaging that, then I'd say you refocused on the database. Now, you mentioned COVID, and to be honest, I hate to even say that I forgot, but I, as you shared that your first quarter was not ideal, I forgot that you headed into the second quarter straight into COVID, which clearly was, could have been nerve-wracking. But what else happened? You don't go from 4 deals to 50, right, in a year, from delivering flowers, or do you?
I hate to say, but yeah, I mean, it was a lot of that. It was a lot of just checking in on people. I mean, we definitely came, which we always try to, but we came from contribution and came from, hey, we just want to check to see if you need anything. We're out and about. We're not tethered at home. Our kids are all pretty much grown. So if, people, when we were all really locked down, we were checking on people and seeing if they needed stuff, seeing how we could help them. And a lot of those phone calls and texts were, we follow up, we check in, but they were a lot more genuine and heartfelt by people. And that has attributed a lot to getting us back on track, because, some people, hey, we're thinking about this, we're thinking about listing, we're thinking about buying. And it wasn't so much right that moment. It's been, hey, here in a couple months, glad you checked in with us. And so it's kind of just strung out onto this year and helped us get through COVID and everything that's going on.
Yeah. One of the things I want us to take away from what Sean is saying is, I might call your business pre-March lucky. Well, actually, it was rather unlucky. But the nature of where the business was coming from, you were relying on luck, because you've sold a lot of houses and you have a lot of past clients. And interestingly enough, no one in your sphere in November and December raised their hand and said, hey, Sean, we really need to list, or hey, Sean, we really need to buy. And and oftentimes we get to a place where we believe that our business is the best that it can be, right? Like, and you have a phenomenal business. We say, gosh, I'm going to be the best at what I do, and by nature of being the best, well, that I'm going to get referrals. But that's still ridiculously lucky. And the difference between February, March, right, and then April was you pushed aside the luck, same business source. It's saying it, you didn't double down on internet leads. You didn't double down and start nailing the phones with expires. You realize that, hey, I've been lucky with my sphere up to this point. How do I make this, right? You know, this lapse in luck show up in real business, and you just got purposeful and put a plan in place around that 150 or around the top of the database, and then began working through it. Would you agree with that?
Oh, very much so. I think it was towards the end of the year and even the first of the year, it was got to more of, a friend of mine, Andy, told me in the past, I got to more of a gatherer than a hunter mindset. People were easily coming to us, and then when it kind of slowed down because of the engineer stuff, we kind of didn't get back. We had to get back to our roots of, you know, we need to see how people are doing, check it on people, doing things for people. I mean, we don't spend hardly anything at all on it. We don't do internet leads. We don't do any of that stuff. Never really have. But I probably spend the same amount as a lot of the agents that do on my past clients. We send out birthday presents. We send out gifts. We see kids doing stuff. We just are always sending stuff out to them because, you know, I'd rather spend the money that way, and it, you know, it's worked for us. So,
yeah, I think my book is just out of reach, but I think a lesson for each of us is whether we're, regardless of what our lead generation strategies are in our business, guys, a properly functioning business or growing business should always be investing about 10% of revenue back into lead generation. So lead gen, we think, oh gosh, 10% into ads or 10% into no, 10% could very well be going to the touches and the connections with that top 150 or top 200. And interestingly enough, as you get those referrals, you're adding to your database through that top 150. So don't read MREA and say, well, that's not the business I really want, so I don't really need that budget, right? What you're sharing is actually our budget probably looks very similar to someone that's spending that money on internet leads or paid for leads, but we're just putting we're investing that budget back into the database. And again, it goes back to turning our business from just lucky or at times unlucky into a system-based process. And the minute you started doing that, what happened? Transactions started showing up.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, we hit transactions started coming up. People started coming out of the woodwork. We're getting connections, and, you know, the seasons change and all that good stuff that we all like to see. Spring and summer showed up. So that also added into it. You know, we were able to, with kind of the new push into the old stuff, we were able to get, you know, 3 or 4 deals a month. But then on top of that, the normal flow of the cycle, the market kind of started kicking in. So that got us back to our normal numbers.
Yeah. Now, but see, we're all going to experience that. So that's just the nature of that tide going up. And that means if you relied strictly on that, right? As a network, if we rely strictly on the market, then we just have to take a step back and say, okay, well, what does the average agent do? What does the average realtor sell? And if I rely strictly on the market and I'm coherent, then I'll sell my 8 deals too, right? I'll sell my 9 deals too, because every agent typically does. So if we're going to be outside of average, right? If we're going to be above average, then there has to be a system or process in place. And what I love about you guys is you know what you do well, you know who your target is, and you focused systematically on that. And quite honestly, now truly with technology, it's the whole purpose of our new tech platform is to control the relationship, but systematize that relationship such that we have a process in place that you'll never go through that unlucky spell based on lack of activity, right? Based on lack of strategy.
Yeah. I mean, one of our biggest expenses is, I think, I haven't, you know, haven't checked this month's P&L, but usually it's the biggest expense is postage, because we send out a ton of handwritten cards. we do. We're always sending out cards, and I have a drawer next to me full of cards that birthdays and anniversaries, and we have ones that are logo branded and all that kind of stuff for business. But it's the personal touches for us, and that's kind of what we feel like has always worked.
Yeah, it's interesting. You say that. I just finished reading. I'm not promoting the book or recommending you read it, but I just finished reading the book, Mr. Thank You Project. I'm not sure if you've heard of him, but John Israel started this movement around what a thank you card does, just honestly for the world, let alone for your business. I mean, there's business strategy in there around that thank you card. But as you said that, I just thought, man, you're the perfect Mr. Thank You Project, right? Like if your biggest budget item is your postage, you're running a gratitude filled business, and that turns into people wanting to repay with gratitude. Here's what's interesting about Robert Cialdini in his book Persuasion says, sales is persuasion, right? Relationships are oftentimes a lot about persuasion. Many of us might say that we persuaded our spouses or partners into staying with us, but the first part of persuasion, which you do so well, is by giving freely and just knowing that comes back, right? If we give freely, and there's even in negotiating, if you give freely, typically people will want to repay you for that, right? For that gratitude, for that gift, for that thank you, for that flower. What did the flower cost, right? And in reality, people want to see you do well because they see you wanting them to do well. So I love your business philosophy, and I think it's when I heard that story about the slow start and what kickstarted the second quarter, third quarter, and fourth quarter, it's a valuable lesson for all of us to remember and ask ourselves, if I feel slow right now, why? If I don't have an answer, then the answer always is a system. It's a system or a process that we need to perfect in our business, and you guys have been doing that. Anything else that you think is important as you look at the second, third, or fourth quarter, or as you plan your 2021 that you wanted to share?
No, we're just our big concern. We just had our advance with our team was, what's COVID going to do? This year has been a weird year. In fact, we do a lot of events. We do a lot of client get-togethers and things like that, and we just haven't been able to do that this year. So we kind of put up two plans for next year. One, if we can do events, and two, if we can't do events. And so we're just kind of waiting and seeing what we're allowed to do. Smart. So that's kind of the big question mark right now. Everything else seems to be, we're just keep plugging along like we have been, but that's the big one out there that's kind of hanging.
Awesome. Sean, I appreciate you. I appreciate you being willing to share openly. There are people on this call that just got a real valuable lesson of really what to look at in their business, and perhaps those people that have been struggling, wondering like, why is this year different for me? And saying, well, it's pandemic, or it's election, or it's. The fact is, at times, there's no reason other than what is the system that I've sort of deviated from, or what is the system that I never implemented but could. So appreciate you sharing that and being willing to.
Not a problem. Yeah. I mean, I've been doing this just going on 15 years, and sometimes it's just those times.
I love that. I'm going to ask one favor. I'm going to ask you to put you and your wife's contact information in the chat box. So that within the network, we have someone to refer to, and we can reach out to you in the Salem market. You've always taken phenomenal care of clients, and that's a win for all of us when we refer to you. So appreciate you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Awesome. All right. Class act, guys. And real valuable lesson there. Sometimes we spend all the time trying to figure out what's wrong, when in reality, there's nothing wrong. We really just have to start implementing a system that we know how to implement and go back to what got us to be successful in the first place, right? Especially when you have a history of success and you show up with one of those dry spells. All right, we're gonna introduce you to another one of our network agents, Mara. Mara Gregory is down in Eugene, Springfield. Mara, you on the call with us?
I am.
Mara, you look awesome this morning.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being on. And the only thing I'm disappointed about is usually when we hop on a Zoom, whether it be on a leadership meeting or just another meeting, I get to see your beautiful new little baby. When did you have a baby, to put things in perspective, this year?
September 21st. So he was 7 weeks on Monday.
7 weeks old.
Yep.
I think there's going to be some lessons here, guys, for those of us looking for some excuses why things can't happen or things get in the way. You've this year sold about 20, almost 30 houses, right? 28 homes, just over 8 million in volume. Keep in mind, she was pregnant for all of those months,
Yeah.
with a September baby. You also run just a phenomenal coaching program, Mara. You have 83 agents in your program in 2020, 57 in Eugene, 26 in other market centers within our network. And interestingly enough, just as way of just some numbers that you would never share, but I'm going to share, 80% of your students are retained in your first year, right? 80% retention in your first year. 80% of your students get something in contract in 30 days. The majority of those people are brand new. I think the last 2 years at our regional event, you've actually won the growth award, meaning that you've added the most agents to your profit share tree of any agent in our region. Guys, like, you are busy, Mara. Like,
Yep.
you're a phenomenal mom, you're a real estate agent, you're a coach, you're out there looking and introducing our company to other people. I guess my first question, and not that you're ready for this, but my first question is, like, how in the world, right? Like, how in the world do you do all that and actually do each one of those roles incredibly well? What does it take?
Yeah. So great question. Sometimes I don't even know, but what I've been thinking about over the past couple days, kind of preparing for this, is I just never stopped. I think that especially with everything that happened this year being a great example, it almost lit a fire under me to keep going at that same capacity. I think a lot of what happened this year is people froze, right? Like COVID hit and we were like, oh no, now what? Or the fires happened and we were like, oh no, now what? And I just continued to show up every day, and how I showed up looked different, right? I wasn't cold calling when people's houses were burnt down, but I showed up with care and checking in on people, and very similar to Sean, and that I do a lot of client events and the care texts and stuff like that. But I made sure like every day was still a work day, because I still had the end goal in view.
Yeah. So if we're taking notes and we're saying, hey, what can we learn from Mara? Perhaps the word that I would write down is movement, right? Movement leads to activity, and activity leads to results. And you've always stayed in movement, even when perhaps, if anyone deserved or maybe even needed a day just on the couch, right, at 7 months pregnant, like it very likely was you. And yet, your perspective was, if I have some goals set, and I have people to take care of, even more than the goal set, you always show up and take care of them, especially your coaching clients.
Yep.
You run your business with one assistant. So with those moving parts, what are maybe the keys to being successful with an assistant? A lot of people, right, are thinking about maybe getting their first assistant, or maybe they have their first assistant, or some of us are thinking, well, gosh, I have an assistant, I don't do what you do. Like, how does that relationship work? How do you leverage that? What are some tips you can give us?
Yeah. So, and I mean, starting from who my assistant is, we're a very, very good match for each other. So if you feel like you maybe have a hire or are looking for a hire, that's not a great match with you, like, find someone who is, because that is a huge part of how successful we are together. And then we are in communication. I think some of the top agents can be guilty of getting so busy that they don't communicate at a high level with their team because they're focused on communicating with their clients. And me and her speak every day, multiple times a day, about what is most important for us to get done that day. And we've become very efficient. So she does everything for my real estate business for me, and everything for the PC program for me as well. And so she has learned how to balance those things along with me, and does them phenomenally. And so, and we stay in open communication. Like if you need more help, we will get more help. But her capacity is large like mine. So we're a great match.
Yeah, one of the things you said that I think is worth writing down as well is that oftentimes in busy, productive, right, fast-moving real estate businesses, we focus on our clients, and as we should, right, communicating with our clients, calling our clients, thinking about, okay, who do I need to connect with today? We jump in and we start doing our lead gen if we're great agents, right? We're on the phones, and yet what we forget is people move the business forward as well with us. And so taking that moment, stopping and having the conversation with the team, making sure, right, small or big, right, it's a small team, but making sure that you guys are in communication every single day, saying this is what needs to get accomplished, this is where I need some help, this is where I might see like a bump. That has been instrumental for, one, you guys to continue to grow together and understand each other, but also be so efficient with limited expenses, truly.
Yeah, she's actually, and we talked about this recently, like she has actually worked less this year than she has previously. But we've accomplished more. So she's learned to be extremely efficient as well.
Awesome. Where, most of your business is database as well and events as well. Any pivots you've had to make this year in maintaining production?
Yeah, it kind of goes back to I didn't stop. So which was hard for me because usually I'm like a get out there and network and do events type person. And so I had to pivot that, and how do I do it online or in a safe way, but not doing it. And I did do less events than I anticipated doing this year, because sometimes the ideas would come to me after I would hopefully have implemented them. And so looking forward to next year, hopefully I'll have more. But one of the examples of an event I did was a trivia night on Zoom for my clients. And so really all the events are for me are excuses to reach out to my sphere and stay front of mind. And so it's my reason to call them and text them and email them. And so making sure I still had those excuses in my mind to do that. We're still doing our Thanksgiving pies this year, except for this year we're dropping them off instead of having an event for them to come and pick them up. But those touches are still really important.
I think what's important for us to realize is regardless of what lead generation strategy we execute, the whole intent of that is contact, right?
Yep.
It is being in contact or touching people so that they know we're there when they need us, right? That's MREA as well, not to bring it up for a second time in one call.
Yeah.
But the fact is, we think, well, gosh, like my people would not do trivia night. Well, I am certain 10 of them would, or 15 of the 4,000 would show up. It's just knowing your clients well enough to know who to invite and realize that group got touched 3, 4, maybe 5 times in that one event. And then you move to the next one, and then you move to the next one, and then you move to the next one. And by the end of your year, you realize that, well, I might have done 6 to 9 small or 12 small little events that actually cost very little. And yet in the process, you've touched 150 to 200 people 7 or 8 times in a very, very personal way, outside of all the real estate sort of news that trickled down and the market reports that they got through command or the connect property inside. Like, that is a very personal way to weave that in specific to them.
Yeah. Yeah. And oftentimes that conversation starts with a invite to whatever it is, and then it goes the real estate direction, and because it's always a, hey, how are you? How's your family? And they in return are like, how's business? And that's your opportunity to educate them, because there's been a lot of things flying around this year that aren't necessarily true about our market, or where there's some misconceptions, and people just need to know that you can make business happen for them.
I love it. Mara, I appreciate you being willing to share with the group. I'm going to ask you for that same favor. If you can drop your contact information into the chat box for anyone that we may know. You just accepted a leadership role as well in Springfield, right? What is
Yep.
that?
Yeah, so I in 2021 will be the vice president of the Springfield Board of Realtors. This year I was principal broker director and then got the opportunity to step up. So super excited about that.
One more thing. Well, you are a servant leader, Mara, and those that get to coach with you feel that, see that, experience that. Clearly the results are there in that program as well. So obviously that, you know, anyone that may want to do that as well can reach out to you for sure.
Yep,
I'm sure.
absolutely.
I'm not speaking out of line. All right. Thank you, Mara. Guys, we're going to transition and we're going to spend the next 8 minutes together from now to the top of the hour going through what I believe is a critical piece for us to continue to grow our business. And that is this conversation of service. We are a service industry. Are we a sales industry? Absolutely. But we can be the greatest salesperson. If we don't deliver phenomenal service, no one's going to come back, right? No one's going to come back and no one's going to talk about us. There's no one better, no organization better at this than the Ritz-Carlton. In a book that was written called The New Gold Standard. This book goes in and dives in and begins to interview the company's first president, Horst Schulze. And Horst was just a phenomenal leader, right? He was the first president of the Ritz-Carlton. He went through a lot of ups and downs during that period of time. But in this book, what he does is really go through what was the tenet of early on that led Ritz-Carlton to be a company of service. What he says in that book is he says it all starts at the very basis or foundation. And he said, I trained every single person and I deliver, like I demonstrated to every single person that there was a statement that was not allowed in any one of our hotels. He said, there is never such a thing as saying that's not my job. Every single person in that hotel would do any job that needs to be done for their guests, right? For their clients. So that is his perspective. And it doesn't matter whether you're the manager, whether you're housekeeper, whether you're front desk, whether you're a bell hop, whether it doesn't matter who you are, whether you're the manager of the restaurant and you're walking through the lobby, nobody ever says that's not my job. He said, by not confusing title with importance, they were able to create an environment. I'm going to say that again. In the book, he said, by not confusing title with importance, we were able to create a great environment. So Ritz-Carlton has these 5 statements, right? Tenets of service. And we're going to go through them really, really quickly together. The first one is define and refine. The second one is empower through trust. The third one is it's not about you. The fourth one, deliver wow. And the fifth one, leave a lasting footprint. So the first one, define and refine. Here's what the book says, right? You're not going to have to read the book because we're going to go through sort of the main points really, really quickly. He said, successful leaders define the pillars of what has led to their excellence. Interestingly enough, we've seen that, right? I go back to Sean's interview. He defined and refined what actually brought success prior to that lull in the first quarter. We have to define and refine what we want to be known for, define and refine what we believe we do so well, and define and refine what's most important in the business. They also said in the book, we have to stay relevant. He said, industries change, hospitality changes, guys, real estate changes. We are defining and refining the real estate experience and the value that we have to offer. The fact is if we don't plug in to a changing industry and define and refine what the real estate agent does to serve their clients, we will miss that service, right? Stay plugged in. There's a lot coming at us all at once, but the fact is layering in service for insurance and mortgage and title and is an important piece of defining and refining what the real estate agent needs to provide. The second thing was empower through trust. And And he said this, if you're going to run a team, and some of us, we just need to trust ourselves, right? Because we're solo agents, but some of us run teams. The fact is every single person needs to believe that they are empowered because we trust that they're going to do the right thing. They tell a story. Horst said that one day he got a letter in the mail, and it was just from a guest, and it said, hey, I want to tell you something. One of your employees and I got into an elevator in one of your hotels. I pushed the 6th floor button and he didn't push one, right? He pushed no button. He said, we rode the elevator up to the 6th floor. The door opened and I got out, and I looked back at the employee and said, hey, are you getting off? And he said, no, I'm going down to the 5th floor. Very small thing, but what he realized is that employee put the customer first. He wasn't going to pause even for 10, 15 seconds to get off at the 5th floor before the customer got off at the 6th floor. And he said, how do you train your employees to do that? And he said, we empower through trust, right? We trust that they will always take care of people, and they are empowered because of that trust. Remember the third one? It's not about you. Right? Here's the takeaway in this section of the book. The quote is this. He says, some people may think it's counterintuitive for a company that is so focused on service to be equally driven to record and analyze data. However, quality processes are what ensures the fundamentals of top service. It's not about you. Our clients don't need us. What they need is quality processes. Now, the client feels like it's all about them the minute they walk through the doors of the Ritz-Carlton. And every single person that services that client knows, or that as they call them, guest, knows that it's not about them. It is about that client. The only way that happens is not because each employee is amazing. The only way that happens is because Horst said we needed to anticipate all needs of the consumer, and all systems and all processes were built around anticipating their needs. So go back as we have this 60-day period, this 45-day period before 2021, and say, hey, are we anticipating the needs? Have I built out my campaigns from contract to close and command? Am I convinced that my processes will deliver service? Number 4, Ritz-Carlton always says deliver wow. And these are those moments, right? For instance, right? It's setting up a trivia night for clients that probably needed a break, right? It's stopping by and dropping off those flowers to 120 people like the Kings did, right? Delivering wow is doing something that's unexpected. One of my favorite books on that topic, and we talked about that, gosh, about a year ago, was The Power of Moments, creating moments, unexpected moments, to whether that's fill a problem or just surprise them at a moment in that transaction. Horst said in the book, reflect the importance of looking for opportunities to serve others. So do you as the leader of an organization or a team? We have to do this better. All of us do. And the last thing was leave a lasting footprint. Ritz-Carlton says this: by enhancing the customer experience to broader levels, consumer loyalty shows up in authentic ways. They believe that truly engaged clients are anxious to experience that again, and also to tell other people. In the book, they said satisfied just isn't, right? Satisfied just isn't. If someone's satisfied with your service, well, welcome to the NAR report every year, where they say, yeah, I'm likely to use my agent again, and they never do. But I promise you, if you leave a lasting footprint, if you truly engage clients at a completely different level, they will talk about you. Again, the book, guys, the gold standard. It's the story of the Ritz-Carlton Hotel Company. All right, it's top of the hour. Leslie, anything that you need to share before we go? Quick thanks again to the Keens, as well as Mara, and all that sort of chatted along the way. Hopefully this was helpful. Don't forget the story of Tiana as we build out our 2021 plan. Focus on the moment. How do we win this moment, right? Pick up that front leg, that right leg. Pick up that left leg, right? Lean forward into that jump. And as Leslie says, remember our November 18th Master Series with Mr. Dillingham. Anything else, Leslie?
Yeah, I think the other thing is I'll put it in the chat box. I have gotten lots of emails, text messages during the course of this asking for the recording. Just as a reminder, we send out a recap every time we do a state of the industry with the slides and the recording. In addition, you can go back and see the recording of any and all of our state of the industry presentations at kwtechhelp.com. That houses our network calendar and event schedule, as well as the recordings of all of our events and classes. So that's kwtechhelp.com. That is all I have. See you on the 18th for Dick Dillingham, and in December for our State of the Industry to close out the year.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it.